Hi, and welcome to Paranormal Lens, presented by Jotnex Paranormal. My name is Kirstin, and I'm joined with Chad Thomas and Jamie Widener.
Guess which one's which?
Yeah, exactly. How have you guys been?
Kirsten, great. How are you doing?
Pretty good. You're recovering from the weekend, so yes.
You did something this weekend?
I kind of just took a road trip. It was fine.
We like road trips around here. Tell us more.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just a nice little trip down to Hanover area, down all the way down in Virginia. So yeah.
Been there
Cool.
before?
What'd you do when you were there? Anything fun?
Yeah, kind of just I went to a tavern, met some people, talked to them about ghost stuff.
Ghost stuff.
Hashtag
Yeah.
ghost stuff.
I did something similar this weekend. Jamie, what
Oh, yeah?
about you?
I did this. Ha ha! It's my only souvenir, but we all went to the Hanover Tavern Paracon. Obviously, we've been talking about it for weeks and weeks and weeks, and as much as all the time it took to get to the point of being there, it was all well worth it. The wait was great to the actual event. What a fantastic weekend! Congratulations to Steve Dills and his team with Transcend Paranormal. They pulled off under some extraordinary conditions of weather and elements a really really good event that brought a lot of folks in, some really fantastic speakers and presenters, as well as some great vendors and people to connect with, both for physical goods, but also just for ideas, thoughts, relationships. I always use the adage that a stranger is a friend you haven't met yet. Well, I made a lot of friends because I met a lot of strangers, and really good connections, really interesting people that I'm looking forward to connecting more with as we move forward, or I move forward. We all do, I guess, but. It was really a neat weekend, and the tavern is a really cool place. So, thoughts, guys? I mean, any takeaways? Any haha moments?
Oh no, we just met some great people. We made some connections with other podcast people in the field, and it was nice. The Witching Hour. We spent a lot of time talking with that group, and looking forward to collaborating on some stuff. And the freaking awesome paranormal show. We also got to talk to the host of that,
Yep.
which I know that some of the team members have been on before, but it was nice to put a face and make the personal connection. And that's what this weekend really was about, making the personal connection with a lot of those great people who are out there, and seeing things and being in a great venue. And it sounded like maybe you had a little bit of an experience, Jamie, on the
I did.
on the way in the evening after we left.
I did.
Want to talk about it?
Yeah, I guess I should. Well, yeah, I have to now, right? So after things were winding down, the last group or session was the digital seance experience. They ran a wonderful session for a seance right at the very end because there was to be an investigation of the tavern and the courthouse, the library, the facility that the property that the tavern encompasses or includes. And it got canceled postponed until March because the weather. For us here where we were talking over the last week or so, that we got 8 to 12 inches of snow. They got about 3 inches of ice in Southern Virginia, and that's extraordinary. And especially in a location that doesn't have the capacity or the prepared capacity to remediate all that. So there was a lot of slippery stuff that was not safe to travel on, that was very thick and hard to remove. So the investigation got postponed again later in March, I believe now. But
Mhm.
the opportunity was still to be in the tavern because that was cleared. So the digital seance experience kind of filled in some of that. And everyone who was still there was invited to stick around for a session. And the presentation that Ron and Lourdes provide prior, they got the full long version, which was really cool. I've heard it many times, but I think as far as them explaining them what they do, how they do it, why they do it, the connection that it is, was really, really poignant in that moment, especially after everything you absorbed over the 2 days of the Paracon. So, but after all of that was done, I'm helping Steve clear out, because the stage that the presentation was on was going to, this, like every other place, it's got multiple uses. So another group was coming in, a theater group was coming in Sunday morning to set up for a show that they're running all week, or at the end of the week, to run a couple weeks on. So stage had to get cleared, room had to get emptied. So we're taking everything out. There was a cabinet that needed to be carried up to the third floor. Well, technically the second, because you're in the basement in the tavern. So Steve and I went up, and while I'm up there, he's like, "Hey, you want to see something cool?" Anytime anybody says that in a haunted location, you're like, "Hell yeah!" So we went down through the hallway, the long hallway that connects the tavern, the tavern and the house, the annex, and all that. The other end of it, turned off the lights, and it's lit up because of an exit sign, and illuminates, and it looks like it's shiny because the walls are glossy. And so we call this a shiny hallway. And at the end, we've had the only time he's ever seen a full-bodied apparition was down at the other end of this hallway. And I sent you guys a picture of it. With that, it's just really kind of creepy, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But as we turned the lights back on, I heard a sound, which would be at the big stairway that's in the middle of the building. I heard a sound, and I turned, and I'm confident to say, at least in my opinion, I saw someone standing there along the wall at the top of the steps. And I just did that like this, and then looked back, and I like, what? Wait! And I turned back, nothing there. So dark jacket, coat kind of thing. Until there was a white shirt of some kind. It looked like it could be a staff person, perhaps, but definitely nobody. Nobody had time to move that fast. So I'm not saying I saw an apparition, but I'm pretty sure I saw an apparition.
That's pretty cool.
It was
That's
really neat,
super
and
cool.
well, you know me, guys. I'm unsensitive, right? So, I my ability to catch these things is, at least I don't feel it's very strong. So I feel very fortunate. I said it to Steve, and he just went, "Nah, yeah, happens, like normal." All right, yeah. Welcome to Saturday.
Yeah.
So, but being, getting the tour with Steve was really cool to walk through, and the history and the information about, the part of the property you don't get to see as a patron very much or at all.
Mhm.
Was really, really cool. And then
Good.
actually before that, I had a chance to go through with, I believe, the executive director of the
Yep.
foundation, David Deal. Um, he gave me a tour as well prior, which I was really cool, because I got to go in a lot of the offices, which were bedrooms or rooms for rent back in the day when it was a boarding house. Man, these guys have really cool offices,
Mm.
so jealous, hashtag jealous.
Yeah.
Um, but he gave me a detailed tour as well, which was really cool.
That's cool.
So yeah, Hanover Tavern did not disappoint.
Hmm.
No.
Well, and as a fluke, Kirstin, you want to tell about our fun at?
Yeah, you had a perk too.
Yes. So I got to the Airbnb first. I got there at like 8:30 and got settled in and everything. It got to be like 10 o'clock at night, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna fall asleep. Chad's still not here, so I've ended up falling asleep. And the room that I was in, on the one side was a vanity with a mirror, and the other side was just a complete bookshelf. So something like woke me up, and when I woke up in the vanity, I saw like this dark figure moving across the bookshelves. I'm like, okay, that's a little creepy. Whatever though. Fell back asleep. Woke up when Chad came to the Airbnb because again, a bunch of ice. It was very loud.
Hmm.
um, we both went back to sleep, and I think at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, I woke up again, and we had left the light to like the kitchen on, and the kitchen was attached to the room I was in, and I can see underneath there was someone standing there. And me in a tired state, my thought process was, I'm like, either that is the host of the Airbnb or that's a ghost. So I ended up telling Chad about what I saw and everything, and then Saturday morning, after I got ready and stuff, I ended up taking my dowsing rods and sitting in the one sitting room, and ended up talking to a ghost named Celine.
So, yeah, it was a really cool property. There was some really old antique furniture. And it turns out that Celine is probably tied to this school teacher's desk that was in the
Hmm.
corner. And actually, it's funny because I walked over and there were two pieces of furniture. I'm like, it's either here with one of these two. And I touched the desk and was like, well, this is an interesting piece of furniture. And then um, it was pretty cool. I noticed some things too. Like I had a hairbrush move when it shouldn't have moved.
Oh yeah, my phone
And
got thrown.
there was a door to a cabinet that sort of opened itself. It could have been something else, but it was like, I don't think so. But apparently, you found out that Celine liked the fact that we could see or know that she was there, and so it was cool to be on a paranormal thing and have our own paranormal experience happen.
Yeah.
So, and I sat and talked with her a little bit and ask for some confirmation, and let me know however you get. And all of a sudden, as soon as I asked for confirmation, the dog that was upstairs started barking, and that was the only time the entire weekend we were there that the dog barked. So again, nothing definitive, but it was pretty cool. So yeah,
It is.
overall good weekend.
Oh yeah.
So,
Wow. And the property you're at was kind of off the beaten path, right?
oh
Like
yeah.
not,
Yeah.
so
Hmm.
adds to the the atmosphere
Hmm.
when you're kind of back in the woods and
Hmm.
you
And
know in the frozen tundra that, that was Southern Virginia that weekend.
yeah, and it was cool because it wasn't just at the Paracon and there that we got to talk to people.
Hmm.
Kirsten and I stopped for breakfast. She got there first, ordered breakfast, and I got there and I walk in and she's talking to this guy and he's spilling paranormal things that he's experienced, but he doesn't believe,
He doesn't believe.
but he's experienced these things. So it was a great weekend of connections in the event and outside of the event. So it was really cool. So.
Well, how many times have we talked about it that when you tell somebody what you do like this, all of a sudden the stories start flowing.
Hmm.
The shared experiences, or the I heard about this, or I know somebody that did that, or or their own stories, of course. But
Hmm.
it happens all too often, or at least regularly. It happens. It's so
Yep.
cool.
Yep. So.
Right on. And I would be remiss to say, well, speaking of the Paracon and Steve and all, but we were very remiss to not to say happy birthday to him as well. So happy birthday,
Yeah.
Mr.
Happy
Today
David.
is
birthday,
birthday.
Steve.
Yeah. So.
The and the whatever year it is, anniversary of your 21st birthday. So um, again, so happy and the best day ever for you, buddy.
So yeah, but I don't think we're here to talk about the Paracon because we've
No.
covered that.
Yeah.
Jamie, are you up tonight?
No, I don't think so.
It's not me.
No. Well, who could it be then? Dun, dun,
Get to talk
dun.
about my favorite cryptid.
Hashtag favorite.
Hashtag favorite. Hashtag ghost stuff.
All right, what do we got?
All right. The town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, is the kind of place that feels older than it looks. Nestled at the confluence of the Ohio and Kanawha rivers, it carries a quiet weight of history. Home to a battlefield some locals insist hosted the first skirmish of the Revolutionary War, a town shaped by fog, water, and memory. And then there's the other thing. The thing Point Pleasant is truly known for: a bipedal humanoid winged creature, moth like, man sized, with glowing red eyes. Locals call it the Mothman. To some, it's a monster, to others, a warning, and to a few, something far stranger. Tonight, we're diving into the sightings, the fear, and the tragedy, and the unsettling question that still lingers decades later. Was the Mothman a creature or a messenger? The first sighting, November 15th, 1966. On the night of November 15th, four young adults were driving along State Route 62 just outside Point Pleasant. Roger and Linda Scarberry, and Steve and Mary Mallet. They were laughing, talking, enjoying a normal night drive. That changed near the abandoned National Guard armory and power plant. That's when they saw it. Standing near the road was a figure unlike anything they have encountered. 6 to 7 feet tall, gray, humanoid. And when the headlights hit it, two massive eyes reflected back. They were bright red and glowing. Panic took over. Roger hit the gas, and the engine roared as the car sped towards town. Then something worse happened. The creature followed them. According to the couples, it rose straight up into the air, not flapping like a bird, but lifting smoothly, like a helicopter. Though it had appeared awkward on the ground, it moved effortlessly through the air, gliding alongside the car. The speedometer climbed 80 miles per hour, 90, 100. Still, the creature kept its pace. It wasn't until they reached the outskirts of town that it finally vanished into the darkness. Shaken and terrified, the group went straight to the police, and with that report, the legend of Mothman officially began. The next day, the Point Pleasant Register struggled to find the right words. The headline read, "Couples see man-sized bird, creature, something." Point Pleasant buzzed with anxiety. This wasn't the kind of town to shrug off a story like that. Fear spread quickly, and curiosity followed close behind. For several nights, locals armed themselves with hunting rifles, drove out towards the TNT area, scanning the skies and tree line. Instead of vanishing, this sightings multiplied. People reported a tall, winged figure lurking outside their homes, chasing cars down dark roads and perching silently in the fields. And the strangest of all, dogs began to disappear. One of the eeriest accounts surfaced later, chronicled in John Keel's The Mothman Prophecies. The day before the Scarberry encounter, a man named Newell Partridge, who locals called Dutchy, was at his home in Salem, West Virginia. His German Shepherd dog, Bandit, suddenly bolted into the woods. Partridge claimed Bandit was chasing two glowing circles. He followed, calling for his dog, searching the trees. Bandit was never seen again. The only thing Partridge found were paw prints in the dirt circling, and then abruptly stopped as the dog had vanished into thin air. On its own, the story might have been dismissed, but in the wake of the Scarberry sighting, it took far more sinister meaning. As sightings continued through late 1966 into 1967, Point Pleasant became a hotspot for the unexplained. Strange lights were seen hovering circles overhead. Residents complained their televisions malfunctioned. A constant buzzing filled the air. Animals barked at nothing. And then there were the men. Two pale figures in black overcoats speaking oddly, asking unsettling questions. The the infamous Men in Black. Then on December 15, 1967, everything had stopped. Sorry, I lost my place for a second. So, during some of those times, there were a few others sightings that I'll get to a little bit later because they are a little bit after. The biggest one that happened during these two times had to be with the Silver Bridge collapse. And what was happening with that was a few days before Mothman had started to be seen more and more. And in December, during a big rush hour. The Silver Bridge that connected Point Pleasant to Gallipolis, Ohio, had massive traffic, and the bridge gave away as cars plunged into the icy Ohio River. 46 people lost their lives, 2 were never recovered, and investigators determined the bridge had been carrying far more weight than it was designed for. After that collapse, Mothman vanished. There were no more sightings at Point Pleasant, and for many implications was impossible to ignore. Now, like I was saying, there have been more sightings. However, they no longer were being seen in Point Pleasant. Some of those sightings are before the Chernobyl nuclear disaster, in Japan prior to the 2011 tsunami, in Moscow before the 1999 Russian apartment bombing, before the 2009 swine flu outbreak, and in Salem, West Virginia, before the series of unexplained child disappearances. So each story is different, but each are tied to a disaster. And while Mothman is West Virginia's most famous cryptid, sightings spread beyond the state. Paranormal researcher Stan Gordon reported sightings in Pennsylvania as early as the summer of 1966 near Pittsburgh. One young man claimed a strange creature leaped onto the back of his convertible, and when it fell off, it left a streak of white, viscous substances. Teenagers report a tall, winged figure stalking the woods. UFO activity normally follows. Sightings continue on into the 1980s and even into the modern era. In 2017, a video circulated from Monroeville, and according to researcher Tobias Whalen, a witness in Levittown reported seeing a winged humanoid creature crawling over the fence, scream, and take off. So, what is the Mothman? A misidentified animal, a shared delusion, a creature that only exists in fear and folklore, or something else entirely? A warning we don't understand. Point Pleasant embraces the legend now. There's a statue, a festival. There's games that now add him into their nice little lore. But beneath the celebration, the unease remains. Because legends don't come from nowhere, and some nights, when the fog rolls over Ohio River, people still swear they see the red eyes watching from the dark, waiting. So yeah. I, growing up, I've always known about Mothman. I've always been like, people would talk about how fearful and like how much you should like fear him and everything. And it was actually a podcast a few years ago when they talked about the Silver Bridge disaster, where he's always around with disasters, but to me it's never Mothman causing the disaster. I kind of like the thought of it's just a messenger of, hey, something's gonna happen.
So it definitely seems that there's been a lot of events that he is sort of a premonition to, like he appears for, and I find that interesting. Yeah, because the gut feeling that I get is it's not him causing it; he's there to watch it, observe. But how does he know it's happening?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I also like how some think he's an alien. Like, there's been reports of you see him, but then you'll also see a UFO afterwards. So, Is it possible that he is actually extraterrestrial and he just pops in and out when like when disaster is about to happen?
Well, there's a couple things to that though, and go back to the Mount Shasta episode, the Bigfoot. And
Mm-hmm.
another one. Apparently, that's another cryptid. If anyone's heard of it,
Oh
Really?
no, I never heard of it.
maybe anyone, Bueller. So there, Bigfoot is considered a protector of the mountain
Mm-hmm.
and potentially of I believe it's called Luminara, the city that's believed to be underneath it. So but Bigfoot comes and goes. So is Bigfoot an alien, or is Bigfoot a interdimensional being that can manifest itself when it needs to or wishes to or is called to, and then go back to wherever it came from and in the interim of needs. And it's if that's a plausibility, then certainly Mothman could be as well. There is a need because there is going to be an issue or an event. There's uh, some collective knowledge somehow or some sense of direness that calls him, it, he, she, it,
Mm-hmm.
to the place, and then the event happens, and then back to the realm it comes from. Maybe. I mean, it's as plausible as anything at this point, right? Because we don't know. But to me, that either of those are very, very interesting because there is like the whole collection of some energy that draws, the being to the place.
Mm-hmm.
And that unusual for us in the paranormal field? I mean, there's a premise that spirits activate or come to energy sources like batteries and certain people who have high energy, to drain, and that's our equipment gets drained, right? And then all of a sudden there's a manifestation. So why couldn't it be so with Mothman
Right.
or Bigfoot, if that is the way you want to believe,
Mm-hmm.
not just some hairy dude living in the woods?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not. I'm probably not posing anything that's not been said before. I'm sure,
Right.
Right.
um, but I think to me that makes more sense. That there is a draw of energy, some collective anticipation, perhaps, and then there he is. There it is, and then the instance occurs. Something is drawn from it for him that sustains. And just back
Mm-hmm.
to the ether
Mm-hmm.
until the next.
Yeah. Bird had a comment. I think that's ranked with Bigfoot and Albatwitch. So,
Bigfoot and Littlefoot. Nice. Well
Mhm.
done.
so, which speaking of Albatwitch, we'll come back to that because there's some
Yep.
news today. I'm sure you saw, Jamie, but
I did, but I didn't. I heard. Yes.
okay. So, anyway,
Well,
Bird also said, "Don't hurt the dog."
never hurt the dog.
I'd like to believe the dog is off somewhere living with Mothman. I don't want to.
Living
I
his
don't
best
want to think
life.
of the dog being hurt.
Yeah, me too. Um, this is also think back for a minute, to the era. Now this is before all of us were born, even me. So one of the things coming out of the mid to late '60s into the early '70s, it seems to me that there was a boom period of cryptid um, activity. This is when Bigfoot really got popular,
Mm-hmm.
right? A few of the other ones, the Rougarou in the Carolina or the Louisiana area came out of this in the '70s and '80s.
Mm-hmm.
The Michigan Dogman came around.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the Loveland Frogman in a week or two.
Mm-hmm.
All of these kind of cryptids started popping up everywhere. And if you, Chad, I think you have this, but I came across a map of like the cryptid from every state not too long ago. And there seems every state has one, you
Mm-hmm.
know, kind of thing. And it all comes from around the era that the Mothman came to be, and that's fascinating to me. Like everything has a starting point, right? I
Right.
guess at least it's not as far as origin, but as far as pop culture reference and knowledge. And Mothman seems to be the catalyst to drive a lot of these other things forward, at least to make them be something where they're acceptable to discuss to others instead of just you being wacky and kind of kooky. that thing. Like we run into folks all the time. We tell them we do paranormal stuff, and all of a sudden they want to talk to us about it. They wouldn't talk to anyone else, but someone in the vein of it, they're certainly willing and able.
Right.
So
Heather did make a comment that people don't allow drugs back then, Jamie.
Explains so
no,
much.
she's not wrong. She's not wrong.
She also commented that I didn't know he was seen in all those countries. I thought it was just Ohio and West Virginia. I always thought he was a cool cryptid, but now that I know about the dog missing, he is not my favorite.
I mean, no, I honestly also didn't know about all the countries until doing more research, which I kind of would like. There's like alleged photos from around here. I kind of just want to see, I want more photos of Mothman taking vacation to other countries because I'm just going on vacation. But
does he pack sunscreen? I mean, what do you take with you?
I mean, there's lights there, and he's a moth, so he's set. But also something about cryptids wanting to jump on the back of vehicles, because Mothman tried it. I know the Loveland Frog also has done it.
Hey! Don't give anything away.
No spoilers.
Oh, that everyone knows about that. But yeah, I'm just.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's so. The story that you shared of the couples in the car, the that takes me sort of a slightly different direction, because it has the start of an urban legend where people go parking, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then something happens. The bloody hook guy is always the one. Like the guy's trying to break into the car while the couple's there. It's the chastity moment that you shouldn't be doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And they get away and get back and find the hook hanging off the car, all that stuff. Back when car doors were handles, I guess, back in the day. But, is that in my mind, at least, going through all the folklore and the urban legends we've covered already, and, the backbone of a lot of this stuff is there's a lesson there somewhere. And is that tale because they were doing something they shouldn't have, and they had a collective, I won't call it hysteria, but a collective moment of, oh shit, we shouldn't be doing this, and then boom, they go, and then the tale comes from it. Or did it really happen? And I'm not discrediting the fact that it happened. I'm sure those folks are still alive and well to this day, that they could come on and we could talk about it, but we could find them. But it's to me that kind of goes to that direction as well. Some of that is just that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, if you want to have that mass hysteria moment, uh, someone could say they saw, a catastrophe happens, and then they know the tale, and then it has to be associated to the Mothman, because that's when this happens.
Mm-hmm.
There might have been something on that bridge, but I will tell you this. I saw, not too long ago, I saw a video of somebody claiming they saw Mothman on a radio tower while they were
I've
driving
heard.
down the road. And, it's dark, and it's a slightly more illuminated sky than the tower. And as the lights on it pulse, you can see that there's something dark there. But to me, it's the apparatus that is part of the transmission or the transmitter series that sits on top of those things. But if you are heightened to, already be cued that you're going to see something, you're going to see something, you know, like that's how you get wired at times, and well, here I am talking crap again, but we as paranormal investigators run to those moments where ghost hunters run away. And I saw a ghost, I
Right.
saw a thing, and then they go the other way because they don't want to deal with it. We would go to try to investigate it. There's not much to this clip to say this person is either, but it doesn't continue. So it takes me that they were not interested in figuring out what it really was. Right.
Right.
But again, if you know the tale, there is to this point, other than the bridge collapse. If it caused it, then definitely there was harm done to people. But if it was a harbinger of concern and saying, hey, look, something's going to happen here, then it certainly did not. And it wouldn't be a reason to run from it.
Right.
So. They were, yep.
I mean, and with a lot of like the videos that go, well, not even a lot, but like the few videos that go around,
Uh,
I feel like if I like, because the big thing is the glowing red eyes.
yeah.
The videos and photos I've seen, you never get the eyes, and I'm like, I want to see the eyes because that's got can't explain something off in the distance with that unless you set something up there.
Well, eye shine happens, right? I mean, that's a natural reflective. There's a science to explain it, and I'm not going to go there. But eye shine happens often with animals and creatures in the wild, and to people too. I mean, it happens to us in photographs, right?
Mhm.
So it could just be reflective light.
Mm-hmm.
As a light source is used, like back in the day, back in the '60s, they didn't have a whole lot of technology yet, right? So they were looking at photography that was on film and
Right.
flashes, cameras with flash, real flashes. So the fact that it wouldn't be that, I don't believe, on a dark road somewhere,
Hmm.
but there would be lights coming from the car as these folks are driving away from whatever's following them. Like the dashboard is illuminated in these old cars. So, maybe there was enough light to reflect something.
Hmm.
And I'm not discrediting there was something following them
Right.
or traveling with them either way or, whatnot. But I don't
Hmm.
know that it was glowing so much as it was reflecting.
Heather had a comment here about, I think this is about the radio tower. They were probably driving around doing drugs. And then Bert commented, and I think this was,
Oh, Mothman on vacation.
Yep.
yeah, sitting on the beach with a Mai Tai. So,
You
Yeah.
know what?
Why
He
not?
deserves it.
hmm so, I have the crypt of the United States image pulled up, and yeah, there is one for every
There it is.
state.
I
So,
like how the Roswell aliens are a cryptid.
well,
Why
cryptid is,
not?
yeah, it's a loose term, I guess here, but it's
You
cool
gotta,
that
you
every
gotta fill something in, Kirsten. You just got to fill something in.
You know what? They're like, hey, they got no cryptids. Just throw aliens in there. It's fine.
so yeah, there's a lot though. We definitely have
Yeah.
some more stories here.
Yep.
I mean, yeah. I
So,
like. I completely forgot about the Jersey Devil.
hmm
We did an episode on it.
You know what? How long ago was that?
Well, season one, but still, we did it.
I
Yeah.
looking at this list, the one that sounds interesting to me is the Oklahoma octopus.
Yeah. That's
So,
a. I want to know about it. Does it live in the sewers? Like,
uh, guess what, Kirsten?
you know what? Next
It's all
episode.
yours. It's all you.
Great. Next episode, Oklahoma octopus. Oh,
Uh,
Pennsylvania.
the
So
squonk.
Pennsylvania's cryptid is my other favorite cryptid. It's the squonk,
So,
which I wish there was more stories and information about the squonk to actually do an episode, but there's not.
hmm so anyway, that's it's a pretty full list of things that we can research.
Exactly.
So what do we think? Do we think this is paranormal, or do we think this is folklore and those sorts of things?
Man, I want to believe, like I always say, I want to believe, but I'm more toward this is something that's been spun into a gigantic bit of folklore. But hey, if somebody can pull, you know, some evidence together that contradicts that or challenges that thought, I'm all in to be an objective observer to it. I can
Mhm.
be swayed, but I'm having trouble believing this one's legit.
Um,
Yeah, I think that's what Bert feels too.
yeah. As much as I would love to believe that there is a giant moth-like man flying around, or even just a man-sized moth flying around, giving showing like bad omens that are about to happen. I I just think it's along the folklore.
Yeah. I wish we could say definitely that it was paranormal or cryptid, but I'm leaning that this one's folklore as well. So
Although I will slap myself if all of a sudden people capture a Mothman.
Well, sure, and that's with all of the cryptids that are, the list is long, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's just here in the US. Go around the world, there's a gazillion more. The one thing that we don't have is a body,
right.
you know? And there's, it depends what you believe, of course. There's physical evidence that of like Bigfoot, right? If you watch shows like Expedition Bigfoot and things that are, pretty popular, they're finding nests and stuff in the woods that don't make sense for other animals. So, okay, maybe, but at some point there's going to have to be a body.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that no one's really ever been able to produce for any of these.
Right.
So our imaginations at times, get the best of us. And then, we all like a good story. We all like a good scare. Um, but the reality is that there has to be something physical then too at the end of
Yeah.
in the process at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Stefan says scientific research gone wrong? Question mark. I'm
Well,
not sure what's up with Heather tonight, but Heather's comment was folklore plus drugs equals Mothman. Uh,
Drugs.
and then Bert said, but with what comes with it, do you really want to see Mothman?
yeah,
um.
it's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want proof.
Well, but I think he's saying, do you want to see
No,
Mothman just to have the tragedy that comes with it? Which I,
all
I
right.
understand that. So
Yeah,
All
okay.
right. If Mothman got captured, yes, I would want to see Mothman then. But if Mothman's just flying around, yeah, I'd keep my distance.
If he's hanging out in my backyard, yeah, we probably have a problem happening, right? So I get it.
um, the scientific research gone wrong, I did not think of.
right.
Well, okay. So we'll go back a while to I think it was also season one. We did Chupacabra,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and one of the theories is that, and the Chupacabra was started, if you will, or founded in Puerto Rico, and one of the premises that there is a research facility, a government research facility on the island that was doing clinical tests of all kinds of weird things and animals and so forth. And the chupacabra is an escapee of that facility. So, and then what I found interesting, and kind of going back to my comment about the Mothman being like the catalyst for a lot of other cryptids, is once the chupacabra was seen once on the island, it was seen many times on the
Right.
island, but it got in the news and once it hit the public, and very much like the bridge collapse in West Virginia, all of a sudden afterwards, there's a lot of sightings. But if the bridge had not collapsed, would there have been? Had someone not seen or believed to have seen chupacabra in their backyard, and the person
Mm-hmm.
still alive today still claims it happened, you know, would there have been other instances that reported and would have become such the phenomenon that it is? You
Right.
know, these are not in eras where there is or was mass access to media and mediums of all kinds. It
Hmm.
was basically the newspaper and it was the local television. That was it.
Right.
Radio was a thing, of course, but there's no instant stuff like we have now. All the channels and means. Now if something like this happens, it's everywhere all at once.
Right.
There it had to be localized first, and then it's kind of like a growing a bubble, just expanding, expanding,
Right.
expanding. So you think about that, and in the from the late '60s to now, we're talking 50 some years. To this becoming a global phenomenon. It's amazing to me
Mm-hmm.
how fast and far it went. Pretty
Yeah,
cool.
but stories about things like this were often picked up right away by news agencies. So they did
Okay.
grow a little faster than because of
Well, but news agencies mean? Do you mean the National Enquirer?
no, I mean like the AP, like wire services and things like that,
Yeah.
Okay.
where because it was something so so out of the ordinary, it did get picked up pretty quickly. So,
Okay.
Stefan also said Blair Witch Project has proven that.
Yes,
Ooh.
exactly.
So yeah, it's definitely some interesting things to think about. Again, I still think we're looking at folklore here, not anything
Unfortunate.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
but again, like Jamie said, prove me wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to believe. Give me some evidence.
This is one I'd love to be proven wrong about.
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
So, yeah, another one,
Yeah.
War of the
That's
Worlds.
fantastic. Yeah, great
Yeah.
example, Stefan. Really good example.
Yeah. So,
You know, the funny thing about the World of the Worlds is that it overlapped another event that a lot of folks were tuned into prior, and another program that was very popular. So folks stepped into the World of the Worlds while it was after the setup was provided, and
mhm.
were feeling like they walked into a live broadcast of current media or current news.
Right.
And you know that was a perfect storm moment of sheer hysteria afterwards. You know, because what was on the radio was trust your resources. This is the
Mhm.
the generation I grew up in with Walter Cronkite and Dan Rather. You know, as newsmen. You know, these people were trusted because you know that's what the news was. And I'm not knocking anything today. I'm not trying to make a commentary to current events, but you know the idea was if it was presented, it was fact, and you're hearing it happening, and it sounded real enough to believe, and folks lost their ever loving minds.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And Stefan's on a roll here.
Yeah, I'm
An
looking at
example.
everything he's posting.
Yeah, the Philadelphia experiment is another one. Yeah,
Yep.
Chad did an episode there.
Yep. Sorry, I was looking at other things. Bert said government trying to make the ultimate flying soldier.
Maybe.
I mean, I do know around Harper's Ferry there's a lot of government buildings, so you never know what they're doing there.
Yep.
Just trying to make a flying soldier.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe they've succeeded and we don't know.
And it's just one Mothman flying around doing things for the government.
Tony Stark all over again, huh?
Oh man.
Wow. All right. Way to bring a lot of things together on that one, Chad. Okay.
Did I get my reference right at least, Jamie?
You did. I'm
All
proud
right.
of you.
Yeah. Yeah. You passed.
Your kids would be proud.
Well, that's good. Well, any thoughts on this before we move on to what's coming up?
Thanks for this. Thanks for the subject. This was a good conversation, interesting conversation. Certainly,
Absolutely.
you know,
I'm
I think you're right. Everybody knows something about the Mothman. You know, at least it's in because it's pop culture now. It's become
Mhm.
part of our
I mean,
our narratives.
yeah, like a few years ago playing Fallout 76 with a group of friends and like, "Hey, you want to go see Mothman?" I'm like, "I'm sorry, they got Mothman in a game?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I was so excited. I was not expecting it to be a literal moth that's like just 5 times its size.
Yeah, there is a I forget the name of the game. Oh my gosh, I played already, but there is one that also has a Wendigo in it. So it's kind of
Is
like a
that
Resident
also
Evil.
Fallout 76? Because I've fought one of those too.
Yeah, it's crazy cool. Like it's such a neat thing that these things are incorporated in all kinds of
Mhm.
places.
Mhm. Well, but that's become more common about everything. With
Mhm.
everything, it's just if it's a story, you can turn it into a game.
That's fair. Yeah.
So, but it's cool. I'm not knocking it. So, well, yeah, Kirsten, thanks for picking this up and running with it. And it's it is a fun subject.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely want to do more cryptids.
well,
One
there's a
skip.
list of them.
Oh, there's a
Yeah.
whole list.
I'll send you the document so you got that list.
Perfect.
So,
Well, you can cover cryptids like we did urban legends, where have multiple episodes, and bunch a couple together, and then go urban. Or not urban, but local,
And then international.
national, international, intergalactic. Who knows?
I may do that just because, like, there's got to be a few other cryptids that are like the squonk, where like there's not that much information, so you can't do a whole episode.
Right.
So,
Hmm.
yeah,
Oh my gosh, Chad Thomas, are we keeping you up?
It's
it's
been
almost his bedtime.
yeah.
Well, we have one green light here, so Stefan says yes, please. So
Perfect.
there it is,
So,
done.
cool. So,
I'm gonna start my cryptid research.
so
well, we Cryptopalooza.
Well, before I fall asleep, and it's not because your information, Kirstin, it's just I've been exhausted. Let's move on to what's coming up.
Yep.
Next week, I am doing what I'm calling Elemental Echoes, Ancient Forces, and Modern Encounters. Looking at elemental spirits, where they come from. I'm can't prove any of it again, but where we think they might come from, what they might be. Definitely an interesting subject, so that one will be fun. Let's see, my mouse just froze on me. That's fun. Jamie, you may have to advance a little. Not sure what happened there either. We're having a lot of fun here.
I don't know. I just got a bad connection, and wow.
Oh, and I was having issue with my slides moving. But
has anyone seen Mothman?
I'm looking out the window real quick.
All right. So then other
red eyes. Wait.
Oh no!
I'm just kidding.
At least I'm in the basement, so I can't see anything out the window. So other upcoming episodes, like I said, Elemental Echoes next week. Jamie, I shortened this just to make you happy.
Thank you.
February 17th, The Legend of the Loveland Frogman. February 24th, Tower of London, Crowns, Chains, and Ghosts. And then March 3rd, I'm back with Where Silence Screams, the Kings Park Psychiatric Facility. And then Jamie is No Vacancy for the Living, the Goldfield Hotel in Nevada. So all interesting things. We can't talk about going to the Paracon anymore because we've already done that. But maybe, Jamie, this is a good place we could throw in what we alluded to earlier. Next year, the Albatwitch Festival that started in Columbia will be coming back to Columbia, Pennsylvania. There will be 2 Albatwitch festivals, but the original one will be back in Columbia. And I can't remember the gentleman's name. Jamie, help me out.
Rick Fisher.
Rick Fisher, researcher, will be starting that up again and bringing it back to where it started. So I'm really, really excited about that. That was always a fun event. We've been there several times, and looking forward to an opportunity. Maybe you'll find the Paranormal Lens there. So we'll see. So something to look forward to.
Yeah.
And as always, here's ways to contact us. You found us on either Facebook or YouTube or one of the streaming services. Check out our the Jotniks Paranormal website at jot-nixparanormal.com. You can email us at paranormallenspodcast@gmail.com. Send us ideas, thoughts, tell us what you like, what we're doing, tell us you don't like what we're doing, any of that stuff. If you saw us this weekend, drop us a line. If you want to see all those things and more ways to get a hold of us, check out Linktree, which is linktr.ee/paranormal lens. We also have a Buy Me a Coffee, and that's buymeacoffee.com/paranormal9. And that just helps us, cover some of the costs of the things that we're doing. Streaming services aren't free. Some of the research stuff that we do, there's a cost to that. And going to events like the Hanover Tavern, where we had a great time, got to meet a lot of people, but there's a cost implication to all that. And we're just looking for a little bit of help on covering those costs. If you can, great. If not, we'll still be here. But we appreciate anything we get.
Yep.
So,
absolutely.
Any other thoughts, guys?
Whew. No, I probably said too much. The Mothman's coming. He's circling my house as we speak. So,
oh no.
That was a fun topic, Kirsten. Thank you. And keep bringing on the cryptids. That's great.
Yeah.
Will
And
do.
anything else? We've said this a lot, and I'm sure you've heard me say it, not just here but elsewhere too, the things that we do. But the paranormal has no walls. There are no, it's such a big thing, and it's going to take us. If there are, it's going to take us a long, long, long time to find them. So that's really the cool thing. And looking at our what we've done in our past and where our schedule is coming up, there's such the spread of topics. Um, I'm always looking forward to the next one. So this was great. And then, Chad, you're up.
Mm-hmm.
Bring on the elementals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool. Well, on that note, let's wrap this up. Mothman exists where folklore, fear, and unanswered questions collide. Whether symbol or something more, the story continues to watch from the shadows. Thanks for joining us. Stay alert, stay respectful, and stay curious. Until next week, we'll see you then. Good night, everybody.